Welcome to the Soul of the EveryMan on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. All past broadcasts are podcasts. Find them at ArtistFirst.com. Please send your questions and comments to dj@ArtistFirst.com. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here they are, Michael and Margaret Lyons.
Thank you very much, Z-Man, and I am Michael Lyons.
And I'm Margaret.
And we're back.
We are here.
We've flown all the way back from Florida, and boy, are my arms tired. Dun-dun-dun. Where's Henny Youngman when you need him?
This may be beyond.
Beyond Henny? Okay. Well, we are back, and we have, I think, an interesting topic as our return show, if you will. This is... Okay, so this particular quote is from a, not a philosopher, but sort of one of the more famous figures from Native American history. His name was Tecumseh. And these days he's probably most well known for the line of small lawnmower engines that's been named after him. It's true, unfortunately.
Nobody knows Tecumseh except as a lawnmower
engine.
Okay.
But Tecumseh, I believe, was, if I'm not mistaken, he was either a Plains Indian or a Sioux.
He was Shawnee.
Shawnee. Okay, so Plains Indian, Shawnee.
Shawnee Indian Chief.
Shawnee Indian Chief. And he was very philosophical about, the change, the very, the huge amount of upheaval that was going on in the Shawnee Nation and the Native American nations in general. And we did a show, years back, one of his, it was basically a sort of a poem, but sort of in essence, his philosophy on living your life and creating the song of your life as you live it, and then having that song to sing at the end of your life. And his song... we related to, sort of the eternity bank as we talk about it. Are you okay? Your headphones falling off? Mine are firmly glued to my head, and I have a hat gluing my skin and keeping it from glaring. Where was I? Oh, yes, so Tecumseh has this sort of wonderful philosophy on life. And then this show, we're going to talk about a... sort of another, would you call it a poem? I don't know if I would. It's sort of free verse, if you will, but it's interesting.
He was asked about life.
Oh, okay.
And this was his reply.
So we can treat it like that, just like that, sort of go through it perhaps once if you'd like to, and then we'll kind of speak to it, because I'm not sure that anyone is familiar with it. If you said Longfellow, people are familiar with Longfellow. So maybe if you wouldn't mind doing us the honors of reading this, live your life through once, and then we'll go through it, together and talk a little bit about him and about his what his philosophy was on this.
All right. So he was asked about life, and this was his response. So, live your life that the fear of death can never enter your heart. Trouble no one about their religion, respect others in their view, and demand that they respect yours. Love your life, perfect your life, beautify all things in your life. Seek to make your life long and its purpose in the service of your people. Prepare a noble death, or a noble death song, for the day when you go over the great divide. Always give a word or a sign of salute when meeting or passing a friend, even a stranger, when in a lonely place. Show respect to all people and grovel to none. When you arise in the morning, give thanks for the food and for the joy of living. If you see no reason for giving thanks, the fault lies only in yourself. Abuse no one and no thing, for abuse turns the wise ones to fools and robs the spirit of its vision. When it comes your time to die, be not like those whose hearts are filled with fear of death, so that when their time comes, they weep and pray for a little more time to live their lives over again in a different way. Sing your death song and die like a hero going home. Tecumseh.
So there's a lot in Tecumseh, and you hear echoes of the Stoics, interestingly enough, if you're familiar with some of their philosophies. And you also hear, and for all I know, he may have read them because they certainly predate his life, but maybe not. It's a quintessentially human thing, is what he's talking about here, and you hear echoes of his of this sentiments in Longfellow, in the Psalm of Life and so on.
It may be a generational thing, They may have been around
contemporaries.
Mm-hmm.
Longfellow and Tecumseh, certainly, potentially, but not, the Stoics, of course.
Well, not the Stoics are before, but I'm just saying you're talking about writing. Yeah.
And perhaps Tecumseh might have been familiar with Longfellow and vice versa. But to get back to the actual words here, you live your life is, if you take the title of this poem or this free verse, live your life. So you take that as sort of a trite, simply, well, just live your life. The old, it is what it is. But in every one of these somewhat familiar and maybe slightly hackneyed expressions, there's a grain of truth. In fact, sometimes more than a grain of truth. So live your life. It speaks to, it's almost like Tolle, basically be present in every moment of your life is another way of saying this. Live your life. And it also kind of hidden within the actual phrase is live the life you have right now. Don't wish for another life. Don't think of how this could be different or what I don't like about now. Live your life means living your life as it is right now. And so you gain tremendous agency from that. You gain tremendous peace from that, because whatever your life is, and Tecumseh was certainly familiar with a lot of the vicissitudes of life and the political climate that he was dealing with at the time, and how how challenging it was. And he could have said, well, I want the life of my ancestors. I want this country to be different than it is right now. I want everything to be not as it is. And instead, he says, live your life. So the very first stanza or paragraph, I'm just going to read it. So live your life that the fear of death can never enter your heart. And that, that's just it's an incredibly powerful way of relating to that sentiment. So live your life so that the fear of death, he doesn't say you'll never die. In fact, he very, very appropriately says when your time comes to die, much later on in this same message. But so live your life such that the fear of death can never enter your heart. And to me, this also echoes, the Bushido, the samurai, The Bushido is live your life the phrase is live your life as though you were already dead. And so the Japanese kind of go right to, so that says that you live the warrior life. You live the life so that none of your decisions in the Bushido, none of your decisions are predicated on your survival. You don't sit there and go, well, if I do this, I might get hurt, I might get killed. I don't want to move in this direction because it's too dangerous. No. You accept that the right action, the thing that must be done, may not just risk your life, you may say to yourself, well, if I do this, the right thing that must be done, according to the laws of the Bushido, of the samurai, I'm going to die. I'm in all full awareness, there's no way I survive this. So both Tecumseh and those who would follow the Bushido would say, well, that doesn't matter. Or rather, you can't act as though that comes into your considerations. The samurai say it such that you've already made yourself as if you were dead. So every action is eternal. Every action is, in essence, an immortal action, or an action which doesn't consider your own mortality. Tecumseh is similar. It says, live your life so that the fear of death can never enter your heart. So you're never living your life such that you're making choices which are without risk or without consequence, or that you look ahead and say, well, if I do this, it might not succeed, I might die, I might become injured. No. Take the moment of now and live it is embodied in this sentence.
Right. Well, it's having the fear of death enter your heart. That phrase, you begin to understand that fear takes over your existence. In other words, you feel nothing but fear. The only space you've made for in that moment is for fear. So you clutch at the fear. And most people do that believing that clutching at the fears will somehow control the fears.
Right.
Which is an interesting thought. I mean, when you're just doing everyday physical tasks, the way you move things is by taking hold of them and then physically moving them.
Mm-hmm.
But what you're doing when you're clutching at fear is that you are holding it so tightly that the only thing you see is what fear has dictated to you. If this is happening, then this is the outcome. This is the fall. This will make you fall. It's never this is happening and this may be an outcome and this other may be an outcome, and maybe if you look at it this way, this is the other outcome. Fear, if you realize it, is a direct line to a single outcome: failure. And when you realize that I'm not choosing failure, I know in my heart that there is a true outcome to this, one where there is peace. That phrase, many philosophies and religions have said, is especially Christianity: peace in your heart. Make a decision where there's only peace in your heart. Because when you make a decision, when you're clutching at fear, it leads directly to this very narrow pathway of failure. And it's interesting because you see only failure. Even if you've overcome something, you still see the failure. And it's very interesting when you begin to look at things. You realize, wait a minute, I'm focusing only on the bad things.
Yeah.
But that's not what happened here. Why am I making myself crazy focusing only on the bad things? Which is pretty much what worry is.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would say, many plays, many especially Greek tragedies, often use this as a device, and it's because it's true that people will, in envisioning a particular outcome, not only not avoid it, but make it come true, make it a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the as a device in a play, it can be sort of a delicious thing to be the audience and see, well, okay, this is why it all goes this way, is because this particular character is trying to avoid his fate, trying to avoid the prophecy or whatever, and only does everything that they do just drives them towards the eventual. And oftentimes, you mentioned it before, and we had the example many shows ago of the monk who looks at fear as a friend. In essence, if we just digress for a moment into fear, if you look at fear as something to be controlled, something to be avoided, something to be planned around, and to make sure that whatever your fear is, that somehow you take it into account and put up all kinds of walls against it.
Planning against fear gives fear the driver's position.
Yeah, driver's
control. Gives it the steering wheel in your life. If the only thing you do is avoid fear or try to find pathways around whatever it is you're fearing, you have to understand that you've allowed fear the prime position of making decisions. And you're saying, oh, no, I'm avoiding fear. It's like, no. Fear is the foundation of you making this decision.
You're living in fear.
You've opened the channel up for only fear-related results. Maybe that's the best way to put it.
Right. And you put so much energy into that imagination. So Tully would say you're living in the future, which is true. You're living in anxiety and fear. It means you're living in the unknown future. You're, as you just said, you're pretending that if you just consider every possibility and weigh all the risks, that somehow you're going to not only avoid the fear, but you control it. But all you're doing, and you just said this as well, I'll just reiterate it, all you're doing is, in essence, allowing fear to be primary in your life. You're not doing what Tecumseh talks about here. You are living your life with the fear of death in your heart. Mm-hmm. And if you say it that way, if you say to somebody, well, you're living your life with the fear of death in your heart, people say, oh, no, I'm not.
Well, see, isn't that interesting, though? Because they believe that they're not being controlled by fear if they're trying to avoid it. But you're using fear as your reference point.
Yeah.
It becomes your origin point, which is like you don't need to have that as your origin point. You can choose for something else.
Well, not only that, but in fear, living in that particular state, it blinds you to all other, you mentioned already, it blinds you to all other choices. You no longer are open to grace, for argument's sake. You're no longer open to the voice of your heart or to the voice of the exigent moment. What is required of now, and if I am the one who must act, fear takes all that away from you. If you live again in the Bushido, living your life as though you're already dead means you're fearless, because the fear at its root is the fear of being injured, being killed, being somehow taken away from your life, and once you put that aside it's tremendously. First of all, it's tremendously empowering. We saw, and we saw not just Christopher, but so many of these children who are under the pain, the threat of death, as from the moment they enter into this ward, into this hospital, into this experience. And if they allowed it to rule them, and we saw those who in essence allowed it to rule them. Once you allow the fear to rule you, you might as well be in prison. You might as well be, in a dungeon, because there's no more life left in you. You might as well almost, if you allow fear to rule you, you might as well be dead, because you're not living anymore. You're merely existing in order to be a vehicle for fear. Your fears, your fears carrier. Your fears, the voyage of your life is now no longer your own. And so these children, who were really at their hearts, they were fully grown adults, but these children very quickly learned that if they allowed fear to rule them, they would have no life whatsoever. And
well, kids in general are more interested in what's happening in the moment.
True.
Okay, they were not necessarily thinking of fear unless it was presented to them in a way that they had to concentrate on it.
Yeah.
They went immediately into, well, what's interesting now? What can I do now? What can I interact with, or who can I interact with? They want to play. And maybe that's the foundation of it all. You want to engage and play in your life. For them, playing is living their lives.
Yeah.
And maybe that's something we can all return to.
Well, yes. And maybe Tecumseh would say, the play that the children are engaged in is in essence their lived experience. They want to be in that moment of now and live at the forefront of their lives. And if that means that they cannot allow fear to rule them, then they don't, and they pursue whatever it is they want to pursue. To go back to his statement, he might say that play is when you are a child, but you're still living your life. As you come into an adult, you have to take all the risks of life. You have to integrate everything that can happen to you into this moment, and say, none of that can. Of course, you understand it. Of course, it's you're not denying reality. It's right there, but you don't allow it, as you said, to drive you, to rule you, to become, in essence, Tolle would say, an egoic identity. You identify, very incorrectly, you identify with fear. You become the anxiety, and the anxiety is your identity. I must worry about all these things. I have to understand. I have to plan. I have to mitigate. I have to.
It's the belief. It's the belief that being an adult means that you're supposed to pre-plan everything.
Yeah.
Prepare everything. People will look at you and say, "What do you mean I shouldn't worry about that? I want to make sure it's perfect for this person."
Right.
And it becomes more of a task that demands perfection as opposed to interacting and allowing the moment to unfold naturally. It's got to be planned. There's no spontaneity anymore. It's got to be this, then this, then this, then this. Because why? And it's that preconceived notion that I want this to be perfect. It can't be flawed in any way.
Right, and therefore it can't be in any way real or spontaneous or...
well, it's understanding, accepting that what is unfolding in the moment is already perfect.
You don't have to make it perfect.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, your concept of what is perfect is in and of itself flawed. But the ego won't allow that.
Well,
the ego wants
it's fear again.
Fear again.
It's fear again.
in one sentence we've gone a half an hour, which is great. This is how the soul of every man goes.
We're going into discussion.
So we could go directly into line by line by line. I like the thing that he talks about trouble no one about their religion, because how much do people spend? How much time do people spend? Prosecuting one philosophy over another, and basically using in many ways to make the other.
Less than.
You're not us, therefore you're less than, therefore you're wrong and I'm right. And this is, the ego loves that. The ego must find someone to be wrong in order that it may be right.
Yes,
it must find something to fear in order that it has this identity of being able to mitigate fear. Go ahead.
Well, they want to feel superior to something because they don't feel whole in themselves. They feel like unless they're dominating someone or something, they don't feel good about themselves, which is like, how about dominating yourself?
Well, or just, that's a great phrase, not dominating oneself, but in essence, the struggle is to become fully aware and to become conscious. Well, and that's enough. That's plenty.
Well, in the Asian way of looking at it is mastering yourself.
Yeah.
The phrase is you cannot master anyone or anything unless you've mastered yourself. And that is a very long road when you walk it. It means understanding yourself so completely that you already know all your strong points and the weak and your progress as you go. And when you truly do that, you are humble. Because you realize that everything that you are dealing with is exactly the same as every other human being in this world.
Yeah, we said this before. You're no more special. You're no less special either. People would say, well, I'm not any less special than that. Correct. You're no more special and no less special than anyone else.
It's just understanding your uniqueness. And because you are so unique, the fact that you have to compare it means that you do not appreciate your uniqueness.
Yeah.
And embracing that so completely that you find the core of your soul and your spirit, nothing will shake you when you live with that flame inside of you completely alight, alive and burning. So yes, trouble no one about their religion, respect others in their view, and demand that they respect yours. Love your life. Perfect your life. Beautify all things in your life. And that is coming to know who you are so completely that you understand that the way things unfold for you in this moment is perfect and beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key phrase there, which he says, and I think many philosophers would agree, is love your life. So much of the suffering, especially the egoic suffering, is all about not loving your life. You want it to be anything else but what it is. You want it to be, something that you're going for in the future, or you want to sit there and regret what happened in the past. You want it to be, whatever you're doing right now, there could be something better that you could be doing. Whomever you're with right now, there could be someone else that you could be with. Nothing that, no pleasure is uncriticized. We know many people like that. There's nothing that comes to them, however perfect, survives this, well, it could be this or it could be that. A beautiful meal is laid out in front of them, cooked by someone or cooked by them. And they spend the whole meal criticizing it. Oh, it could have been this, it could have been that, we could be having ribs or having chicken, whatever. And so none of the pleasure of that experience, none of the of that which is beautiful, and perfect. The moment of now, as you just said, is perfect because it is, and it can't be any different. It'll never happen again.
Right.
It is a perfect moment of now. And in that kernel of realization is the kernel of joy in every moment, regardless of the moment. It is not only uniquely now, it'll never happen again. You are here for that exact purpose, to experience that moment. You're, what Tolle says, you're exactly in the right place, doing exactly the right thing. You're there because you're supposed to be there. And once you realize that, the possibilities open up to you, the grace opens up to you. You realize that what you're doing is not just living along through a moment which you don't even care to be there and want to be anywhere else. No. The moment that you're in is the perfect moment of now that you're supposed to be there. And then, so there you open your eyes up and say, what may I do here? What may I do in this moment? I'm here for a purpose. Let me discover it. Well, now you're living in the moment. Now, whatever the moment is, it's perfect. It's beautiful. And, his idea of seek to make your life long and its purpose in the service of your people. Well, that's the servant's life. That's Christ, if you will. That's the idea that if you wish to exalt yourself, humble yourself, make yourself the servant of all, be in that perfect moment of now, and you will find not just the peace of that moment, but also the fulfillment of that moment. So, Tecumseh, whether he read any of the teachings of Christ, whether he was a philosopher of any type, he's come to the same kernel of truth in this message here.
And it's just this phrase of his next phrase: prepare a noble death song for the day when you go over the great divide.
Exactly.
Now you think about it in terms of what do you do when you write a song? And you're putting together phrases, not just words, but melodies, and harmonizing with an overall
theme.
Yes, theme is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So it's realizing that, you know what? Yeah, this will end someday. And for his culture, you will go over the great divide, life to death, and then something far greater. And why would you prepare a noble death song? Is it for the people to sing about your life? Or is it that you sing this song on the other side? It's a wonderful concept.
Well, I would say this, the latter, not the former. Your death song, first of all, is the song of your life. You say your death song, right? People say that your death song, but it's in essence the song of your life. It's reminiscent of, in Egyptian mythos, when the soul would leave the body and would go to be judged, you would bring forth the whole song of the whole story of your life, and they would very, very evocatively say they would weigh your heart, and if your heart was heavy, you wouldn't go into the afterlife, or you would go somewhere else. And if your heart was
too light,
well, it would had to be just right.
Well, it was weighed against a feather.
Right.
And if it was too heavy, you would not go.
Right.
But if it was too light,
yes,
you would not go.
Yes.
There was a balance point. You couldn't be super floaty or super heavy.
Right. Well, and there's many similar, the experience, I believe, of the Tibetans in the journey into death, and through the various chakras that you would, or the gates that you would exit out of, as you leave the body, and what gate you exit out of. it has that same idea of your life's story, your life's song, would in essence determine whether you went into enlightenment or you went into whatever gate you ended up.
Right.
And that would be in essence your samsara, your life, your experiences here.
Well, you're trying to escape samsara.
Right. The wheel of existence.
Right. But the idea is exactly that. You are trying to choose the exit point or the gate, and it has to do with, in their terms, it's a frequency, how pure, and it's how attached you are to this life and where your attachments are that determines the gate that you're going out of. So if you've been stuck in things, substances, or you can't get enough, it's that realm where it's the lower, the hungry ghosts. You're always wanting. You don't leave.
Right.
You don't leave this realm. You get thrown into the samsara wheel, and you are reborn immediately. If you're capable, excuse me.
Well, I would say that what Tecumseh is talking about here, the noble death is also the higher frequency exit, if you will.
Right.
The nobility here is an analog of frequency.
Yes. He is trying to show that you can't be involved with you.
Yeah.
With yourself. Although, he is saying that you're trying to sing a noble death song.
Yeah.
So, how do you begin to walk that path where your life reflects not you?
And the ego would you can almost hear the ego. We laugh at it, but you can hear the ego. What do you mean? My life's not about me.
Right.
Because people are like, my life has to be about me.
Yes.
It's all about me. Me.
Yeah, that's what it's focused on. It's
a lot of people's death songs are in the key of me.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's a interesting pathway to begin to walk when it's not about you. You just don't realize how involved you are with everything being concerned about you.
Well, you used to have, it just reminds me, you used to have an exercise that you would do with folks. You know the one I'm talking about, where you would say to a group of people, okay, now we're going to do an exercise for the next hour, let's say, or the next 10 minutes in some cases.
I gave it to them I want you to do 24 hours.
But you do it. Tell the story.
Or if you can do it a week.
Yeah, but...
when you speak, you are not allowed to use the pronoun I.
Right. And people would say, what can I use the word me?
Well, it was phenomenal because they would want to ask a question,
right,
but they realize they can't use the word I.
Right.
And they're like, because they can't say, can I?
Right. Some of them would be struck dumb for minutes.
They literally could not speak. It was amazing. And they had to reorient their mind.
It's like,
No, seriously. It was a very difficult exercise for a number of people.
For people, because I would say, without the humor of it, is that every statement is self-referential. And we all know people like that, where their statements are not a conversation as much as a declaration, or as a, that's, the funny phrase is, listen to me going on and on about me. What do you think about me? So the ego wants the spotlight He wants to be, they call it main character syndrome. The whole story of your life is all about you and how everybody thinks about you. And you've had this experience, another situation where somebody storms up to you, and this was in school many years ago, storms up to you and says, I know you're talking about me, and I know you're saying bad things about me. And the truth is, and this is absolutely true of almost everyone in the world, is nobody really cares or thinks about you. But the ego hates that. The ego has to tell itself all the time that everybody and everything is revolving around it and is considering whether to do something bad to it or how I feel, and they're talking about me and what they're probably plotting against me.
Well, it's
a little paranoia there.
A little paranoia, yeah. You're laughing at me.
They're laughing at me.
And it's like, no.
Probably,
who are you again?
Who are you again? But the ego, that's a knife to the ego's heart when somebody says, well, I don't even know who you are. What do you mean? You don't know who I am. Well, the ego is stuck there. And it's certainly not a noble pursuit. It's a very venal. It's a very self-referential.
It's
immature, conceited, narcissistic almost.
Yeah, it's your world is so small that you can only interact in this world through this tiny little circle. And people don't realize that you've narrowed the range of experience down so much that you're missing so much that's happening in front of you.
When you've got literally blinders on, because everything has got to be, it's Narcissus, right? Everything's got to be about me, and all the reflections are me, and everyone's got a mirror up to me, and I'm always looking at me in the mirror.
Yeah,
and even relationships in this unfortunate existence always have to be reflective. They always have to be, how is this person like me? How do I see myself in this other person?
They can only relate to you if they see some aspect of themselves there, and then they're interacting with that aspect. They're not interacting with you.
No.
They're interacting with what they perceive as a piece of themselves in you. Which is weird.
But a lot of relationships will start there, and then as people do in relationships, as they grow, as they change, people will say, well, you're not the same person that I married or that I had a relationship with. And the correct answer is, of course not, neither are you. But the ego wants everything to remain the same, everything, that the other is always just me in another form. It's always feeding back to me, and they're always concerned about me and my concerns and my happiness, and I'm not happy until you have to make me happy.
I honestly believe that tendency to, it's a reflex or a reflect that you're looking at. It's only meant for you to perceive. In other words, it's a data point. This is something to take in as a piece of information. It is not you completely. If you even realize what a reflection is, it is just surface. It has nothing to do with depth. No. Just surface, and how you perceive the surface, telling yourself that there's a lot of depth there. Look, I can see that I'm moving my head, and it's looking, is this my left side better than my right? It's like, okay.
No, properly you can, in a real relationship, which is between two people at least, properly you can see your own changes in the other. You can allow them to observe you and to give back to you, and this is part of a proper trading of that energy flow back and forth. And in that sense, you're not looking for yourself, because when you say looking for yourself, what you're saying is, I have an image of me, and I want to see that image of me. I don't want to see anything else about me. In my world, I am this. I'm the conquering hero. And if you don't reflect back that I'm the conquering hero, that's a betrayal of some sort. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
It's interesting because when you think about relationships, the ones that matter are the ones where your soul is acknowledged in the interchange. And that's that next part.
Not the surface.
It says, always give a word or a sign of salute when meeting or passing a friend.
Yeah.
Even a stranger, when in a lonely place. Show respect to all people and grovel to none. It's understanding that acknowledgement is at the core of who we are. We hunger for interactions that just acknowledge us. Not what we can do for the other person, not what we can give, no ego stroking.
No.
Just the acknowledgement that, hey, you're here, and I love that you're here. Acknowledging the fact that you are present, alive, in this moment with me.
And people would say, well, that's the same thing, but it's certainly not.
The same thing as what?
Well, as this reflection, as because when you do what you're talking about, when someone is a witness to you and acknowledging your presence, that's a completely different interchange. What you see in the other in that case is a fully independent, unique being with whom you have a relationship, with whom you share, to go into the OPH, the observer patch hypothesis, with whom you share a piece of the universe. And in that experience of yourself as a being, experience of the other as a presence within your patch of the universe, the fact that in experiencing each other, you do, of course, in communication, one of the key aspects is, and this is modeled, Peterson talks about this a lot, and it's oftentimes in this sort of, you say something, and then the other person says, what I heard you say was, that's that exercise. But that's the very formal way of being in presence and acknowledging that what you have inside your head and what you think you've said has to be understood, and then it has to be accepted, and then you could say and then the other can say to you, this is what I heard you say. This is what I received from you. And it's very important in that moment to not say, oh, well, then you don't understand me at all, and you're not trying to...
Well, then it became about you again.
Then it's again about you again. Because if it doesn't agree with what you thought you said, the proper response, what Peterson says, and what, in essence, what Tecumseh is saying, is you acknowledge that the other is a completely valid experience of the universe, which is unique and different from you, and you don't get to control how they see you, but you do get to accept that they saw a valid thing, that you tried to, I tried to tell you all about my experience, and what you heard was some blither blather, and maybe a couple of things that might have been a little bit interesting. You say, well, what I heard was this, but tell me more, or explain yourself further, and then you have the ability to trade back and forth to strengthen the relationship.
Usually when the phrase, okay, what I heard was, allows the other person to see how the words were interpreted.
Right.
The words may mean something different, or the way it was said implied other things, or there's a whole bunch of different connotations associated with the phrase.
Yeah.
So it's just clarification. If you can understand what you're doing, is probably showing the deepest respect to the other person by saying, I want to understand you clearly. Please clarify this for me.
Well, I'm willing to spend some of my precious time and precious life in relationship
breath.
with you and breath in relationship with you, and I'm willing to entertain your presence, your thoughts, and to give back to you the gift that is beyond price, my attention, my attempt to understand and to interact, and in doing that and saying to you, what I heard was someone who loves me and who's trying to say something to me, and this is what I got from that, and I'm going to spend the time to say it back to you, and maybe to add my interpretation, and that becomes a beautiful. It's like the yin yang. It becomes a beautiful interchange.
It is a flow.
A flow, exactly.
You establish a flow when you do that because you're clarifying the concepts, and it's a flow concept. It's not just a word concept. So it's a beautiful thing if you can even get one relationship or where that kind of a conversation happens.
Yeah.
You just feel so blessed. It's like, oh, you get me? You understood what I just said? Yay!
but even so, back to Tecumseh, because you see, even a stranger, because a stranger in a lonely place, just to hear the words of acknowledgement, I see you. I as a presence, as a human being, acknowledge that you are a being within my presence, and I see you.
I see you.
And I greet you.
You know, it's so basic.
So basic.
It is so basic. I mean, you just have to have a conversation or an interchange with a little one.
Yeah.
And they're so happy to look into your eyes, and you're looking back, and they're like, "Ah, you see me."
Yeah.
Yes.
and as you said, it can be not completely nonverbal.
Mm-hmm.
The greeting between an infant and an adult, which is all just eye contact and, maybe some expression or some touch, and you feel immediately the presence of this other. You get a very good sense, without any words whatsoever, without any explanation, of who they are as a person, and they do for you. You can't talk to an infant about your stock portfolio or what do you think about me. No, they see very directly into your presence, and if you are going to engage with them at all, you have to open up. You have to give yourself the ability to see them and to be seen by them. And it's a very refreshing experience. And if you understand what's happening there, that interaction is where you really should be with all interactions with everybody.
If you understand that is the foundation of your interactions.
Yeah.
Just try to communicate non-verbally.
Yeah.
I would, speaking to young mothers, because many times what they do is just this continuous stream of words with their little one. And the little one's just looking at their mouth going up and down, and then looking at their eyes, then looking back at the mouth, and then suddenly you see them moving their lips or something.
Right.
So it's very funny when you see that, but it's like, try nonverbal communication.
Yeah.
What I remember our daughter-in-law had said when she was teaching in a preschool, they had taught the children a little bit of sign language.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Little ones. These are preschool. You're under the age of 3, so you're talking.
Some of them even younger, nonverbal,
right?
Not yet,
Toddlers,
not really having words.
Yeah. And what they did is they taught them sign language for, I would like more, or what I need in this moment.
Yeah.
And the sound that was going on in the room decreased completely because they were being taught, in order to get attention, I have to scream. So a lot of the screaming stopped because they realized that they can communicate through this sign language. And it was a beautiful thing because they felt more comfortable and beginning in the confidence of, I can manage the situation. So it's understanding that should be the foundation of all your relationship, to be able to communicate not just verbally, which I think a lot of females miss.
Well,
they miss it completely.
It's true, but to go back to Tecumseh, that showing respect to all people is in essence that acknowledgement of presence, and groveling to none, is because we are all unique human beings. Those who base their self-worth on how subservient or how submissive everyone else is around them are certainly not. This is all egoic. It's all about me. I am the powerful one.
Constantly judging other people.
Yeah, less than.
Like one phrase I remember someone saying, we were all watching 4th of July fireworks. And they're just so beautiful. And one man was there going, it's booming, and people were going, yay! They're easily amused.
Right.
They don't know what a good fireworks show is. And you're just looking at them like, why are you here?
Right. and that goes back to the the other. Oh, these I am superior and they're inferior.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we've gotten halfway through Tecumseh.
Okay, when you arise,
we're almost at the end here.
Morning, when you arise in the morning.
Well, I think we should skip forward. Although this is good, but the last bit of sing your death song and die like a hero. Each one of the things that he's talking about encapsulates relationships. Relationship of you to yourself, of you to others with respect. Giving thanks to the food, being present in your life. All of these things, and we've said this many times, add to your experiences. They add to your eternity bank. They become eternal moments. And to the extent that each one of those becomes a line in your song, you're going to die. He says it right here. When it comes your time to die. And the ego says, I'm never going to die. Everyone else is going to die but me because I'm special. I'm just built different. That's that phrase.
What he's speaking of is when it's your time to die and you really perceive that you've come to an end of something.
Right.
Don't be like the ones that cry and weep for a little more time so they can live their life a little bit different.
Right. I'm not ready yet. That wonderful phrase. Don't take me yet. I'm not ready yet. I'm not done.
Yeah. And you look at it and you're like, what are you talking about?
I would
if
say,
you had all that time to live and you did not choose this, what makes you think you're going to choose it if you even were given a month?
Right, or a moment. I think there's a corollary to this. I've heard from several people. They want to say when they're done. They say, well, I'm done. I can go any time now. In fact, I'd like to go now. And that also, that's another fear control thing. They want to say I'm done. They want to say orchestrate. Right? They want drama. They want to pull that string. They want to play God. And I always say to those people, under any circumstance, is you don't know that you in the moment of now have a wonderful role to play, and you have to seize every moment. There's no moment of your life which should not be lived. And I think Tecumseh would agree with that. This is live your life. Saying I'm done is to try and take control and try to, again, assuage fear and live in anything but the moment of now. And it's the other side of it is when they're finally brought to the end, they have to say, well, no, I'm not done. It's more control.
We're done.
Oh, we're done too. So let's sing our death song, or sing our end of show song. We're done.
And I'm Margaret.
And I'm Michael. Thank you for listening.